Good morning. We are joined by our Automan Brian Bowersock. We're talking about octane ratings and what type of fuel you want to put in your car. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm good today. So when we go up to the pump, there's obviously different numbers. How do we know what's best for our car?
That's a good question because typically we have 87, 89, and 91 octane fuel, right? So what we always recommend with folks is use the octane rating that your car is designed for. When they engineer a vehicle in the engine, there's an octane rating for it. And believe it or not, it's going to be in your owner's manual.
Got it.
So you want to take a look at that. But the big question I get often is, if my car calls for 87 octane, does 91, is it better for it? Do you know the answer to that, Carrie?
I'm going to say no. Stick
No,
with what you're supposed to put in the car.
Exactly, and the reason for that is the fact that you're kind of wasting your money. You don't need it. Octane ratings have to do with compression ratios of engines. Now, I'm talking Greek or Spanish to you right now, and I know that. I can tell by the look on your face. But the point that we need to make to the viewers is use the proper octane rating for your car. More performance cars, such as higher-end BMWs, Mercedes, Lexus, some of those, they require higher octane rating because the way the engine's designed, if that makes sense. That's the easiest way to explain it.
I do know to stay away from diesel. Not from personal experience, but somebody close to me.
Not if you have a diesel, though.
Correct. Well, that is true.
So,
but for the everyday car, yeah,
correct.
No diesel.
And the other thing we want to talk about is fuel. So you have higher-end fuels, such as, by our major manufacturers, and then you have lower-end gasoline or I should say discount places you can purchase fuel. Just so you know, gasoline all starts out the same. There's only a few refineries in the world, and it's purchased from. But what happens is when you deal with like Chevron or Shell or those, they add their own additives to it, which can reduce carbon buildup and other things like that, keep injectors clean. So some of that stuff really does work, and that's why they often charge more for their fuels. So a lot of times running higher quality fuels can help keep the inside of the engine clean. Does that make sense to you now?
Interesting. Okay, so when you are out on the road and looking for gas and have your choice of several different stations, how do you know where to stop?
Sometimes you can bounce back and forth.
Okay.
You can, but I will tell you this. Fuel is all of a decent quality, but once again, like I said, the only difference is really the additives put in it. So if you want to use a lower cost fuel now and then the next tank fill up with a higher cost fuel or a better fuel with some additives in it, it can help keep the engine clean. Or you can just run a high-end fuel all the time if you just love your car that much and you want to keep the engine clean. So great tips to as far as fuel goes and just kind of staying on top of it. Use the proper octane rating. Use some higher-end fuel here and there with the good additives in it. And then the only other thing you really do to your car that keeps fuel mileage going and stuff like that is what's called a fuel induction service, which is an additional thing yearly that helps remove all the carbon out of your engine.
Perfect. Brian Bowersock, thank you so much for these wonderful tips. Appreciate it.
Always glad to be here.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too.